Due to adult content, parental discretion is advised.
To begin.
Are you watching closely?
How to start.
Clytus, I'm bored. What plaything can you offer me today?
In Life Itself, a memoir, Roger Ebert begins. I was born inside the movie of my life.
I was born a poor black child.
The visuals were before me.
I was born in it, molded by it.
The audio surrounded me. The plot unfolded inevitably, but not necessarily. I don't remember how I got into the movie, but it continues to entertain me. At first, the frames flicker without connection.
We all are born with a certain package. We are who we are. Where we were born, who we were born as, how we were raised. We're kind of stuck inside that person. And the purpose of civilization and growth is to be able to reach out and empathize a little bit with other people. And for me, the movies are like a machine that generates empathy. It lets you understand a little bit more about different hopes, aspirations, dreams, and fears. It helps us to identify with the people who are sharing this journey with us.
Here's the deal. Just give me the facts.
Just the facts. Only the facts.
Breathe. Focus. Keep it simple.
No doubt. Okay.
Welcome to Cock and Bull Minute, a Tristram Shandy story. A podcast in which, eventually, ostensibly, at some point, we will be talking about the 2005 film Tristram Shandy, a cock and bull story, 1 minute at a time.
Good Lord, what is this story all about?
Cock and a bull story.
Here's your host, me, Robert Black.
We're back again with Professor Sarah Black to discuss Group 6, Birdman, though I think we'll be moving on from there in a moment, versus Synecdoche, New York. I did want to ask about, because I was trying to remember when a scene happens, because he kills himself or tries to kill himself on purpose, right?
Yes.
And there's a scene sometime before that where he, apologizes to his daughter. And I was trying to think of when that happens, because, at what point in the movie he makes the decision to shoot himself. And I couldn't remember. So it's more about, my memory than, the theme, but maybe it comes down to, what Inarritu is going for in terms of, horrible guy who tries to make up for it with suicide, since I was thinking about the story that's in the play, the story that is the play that's in the movie, and how it's about, they say the guy who shot himself did it for love. And, is the movie trying to say, this conflicts with what I said last time about, the movie being different than the character. But is the character trying to kill himself to make everyone's life better?
I think if that is what's happening,
and
that's
that
an
worse?
even more horrible message for the movie than the one that I ascribed to it. I mean, if he's apologizing to his daughter for not being there for her, and then decides he's never going to be there for her by killing himself while she's still ever, but while she's still dealing with rehab and dealing with issues, and her job is literally working for him, so
that's what I was trying to figure out, is when does he make that decision? Because he goes out and drinks, and then it's that last day, and it's all the way the film is done, all in one shot, or faking one shot, it's hard to gauge when certain things happen. I'm trying to figure out how bad is the message of the movie? Or how bad is the character of Regan? Or both. And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because then I thought maybe he makes the decision earlier, and before he even goes to drink. Maybe that's where we see the decision happen. After he talks to the critic. I think that's when that happens. And then it's more he's apologizing because he already realizes he's going to kill himself. Which in reality, bad. In story terms, that's slightly better, because it's more where you're gonna, I don't know. I got stuck on that scene in my head since we did the last episode.
I mean, it's odd if that's his response to a critic. I'll show her by giving her that, how's she gonna write her review about me not being real if I do this very real thing on stage? I don't really...
Well, that comes down to, the problematic messaging is, then I was thinking, maybe, literally what Inarritu was putting into the end of the movie is, he knows his play's gonna fail. He knows he failed as a father. He knows he's a horrible person. So he makes it up in his mind to kill himself and then thinks an apology will make it all okay. Which it won't. But it might give Riggin a better motivation in the end of the film, possibly. But then I don't know what the point is of him failing to shoot himself, or kill himself, if he does fail to do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's actually...
Then the end of the movie gets really weird.
Yeah.
And so now I'm stuck... it's fine. Okay, moving on. Moving on to a man who's less of a character problem and more of a character with problems. Caden Cotard in Synecdoche, New York. Charlie Kaufman's, first time directing his own script.
Yeah, and I've got to say, it's really interesting because I've made a lot of comments and critiques about there being so many white middle-aged male going through existential crises films, and that's exactly what this film is as well, and it's exactly what every Charlie Kaufman film is.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he does it in a way where I still love him, or I don't get annoyed with that aspect of him. And I don't know whether it's because it's less of a focus on the attributes of one particular character and more of a philosophical treatise. So I end up thinking a lot more than worrying about the identity of who's involved.
Yeah, you have that storytelling thing where it's like using the specifics to get universal, which he manages better.
Yeah.
And also I think it's a big thing about, in this case, in these two movies is a good comparison. Riggin versus Caden. Riggin is egocentric ass. Caden is not. We meet him. He's already like the put upon guy he's just trying to be nice to everybody. He's trying to make something good. Riggin says he's trying to make something good, but we never know that.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, Caden is egotistical. He's not
inherently,
a bastard,
yeah.
But I don't know if it's necessarily more than we're all egotistical in trying to control our own lives, which I think again is what Charlie Kaufman does better. He writes characters and philosophical themes and situations that feel more universal. I mean, that's my subjective perspective.
Which is funny in this case, because I realize there's even more similarities with Riggin and Caden, because they're both dealing with like trying to care for a daughter they haven't been around for. Caden possibly not by his choice, although she suggests otherwise on her deathbed.
Yeah. I mean, Caden is clearly wanting to be more involved. I mean, we don't really see, that's the thing, we don't really see any of the backstory with Riggin and his daughter, so we don't know how much he was there, not there, what their interactions were. Like, obviously we have to assume since he was Birdman and was in film, he wasn't around.
Well, we know he cheated on his wife and that's when their marriage broke up. We can assume that's when he left.
Right. But we don't really know too much because the backstory isn't part of it, where we see more of Caden's relationship with his daughter, even if it's not directly his relationship with his daughter in certain parts. Like, he's caring enough to read her diary, which sounds weird to say caring enough to read her diary, but the whole film is like absurdist. So
that's after
if you haven't seen it, it doesn't really make sense.
But I think in terms of the father-daughter thing, we get to see him walk her, I think it's to school.
Right.
Early in the film. Whereas the first thing we get with Riggin's daughter is she works for him. Like, she's his assistant. And so she's doing work first. She's not his daughter first.
Right.
And so I think we have a better idea that Caden cares.
Yeah. I mean, Caden's daughter's purpose isn't to serve him or to do something for him, which goes back to my issue with Birdman and that all the women were just there to serve him. But in Synecdoche, we see him in a loving role with her, in a caring role with her. Just to back up a little bit, the title Synecdoche, New York, is a play, of course, on Schenectady. I always try to, whenever I say one, except the other one, New York. And Synecdoche is a term denoting a specific class of thing that's used to refer to a larger, more general class of thing, which I think a Synecdoche is...
See, now that you said the other one, you have trouble saying that one.
Yeah.
It can be philosophical, yeah. It can also be really simple, because isn't one of the common examples like calling your car wheels?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ebert says, in other words, the playwright's life refers to all lives and all lives refer to his life. Kaufman gives the whole thing away right there in his title, the theme of the play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now I keep saying play because we have plays in both films. Theme of the film is is that Kaufman's life is all lives and we're all him, and not in an all lives matter way, but in a
If any of the All Lives Matter want a movie to like, they should like this one.
Yeah.
Because it would teach them to maybe take that literally instead of just as a slogan.
So, overarching theme is death and dying, but I think the overarching theme is how we construct reality and how we construct our own lives and how everyone else is a part of that life. I like that we're recording this episode right around the time the movie was set, because it was set right September because I'm an astrology liker where we're switching over from Virgo to Libra season, and we're also switching over from summer to fall, and we're also switching over into what would connect in terms of hours of a day, that same part in the evening. And so very purposefully they're making that connection about him being into his 40s, about to head into the fall of his own life.
That's in the script, by the way, the thing in the opening scene where the date keeps changing and the time changes. And
so we start with 7:44.
Breakfast takes like a month and a half.
Switching from 7:45. Yeah, I loved all of the playing around with dates because I love what Charlie Kaufman does in a lot of his films regarding memory, because think about it. Do we remember breakfast on a given day? Do we remember a lot of memories specific to a time? No, we usually don't. We remember bits and pieces based on our own perceptions, based on every interaction we've had prior to that interaction. Yeah. And so we've even had conversations where it's like, wait, when did that happen? Did that happen before that other thing? I thought that we did this together. And because our brains don't hold, there are a few people in the world whose brains do hold memories in a linear fashion, but that is rare. That is not how most of it.
Any problem with remembering when things are gets worse the more you try to, because each time you remember it, now that new memory is the memory you brought up the time before. And
exactly.
It changes.
There are stories from my own life and my own past that I wonder how accurate. I mean, I'm not purposefully lying about any of them, say like if I write about them or talk about them, but I wonder how accurate, like if we actually took a camera and pointed it on that scene where, say, my 7th grade teacher read the note out loud to the crush that I had, like how would viewing that scene, if we could actually go back in time, connect with my perception and memory of that scene? And I think, because like you're saying, every time we remember something, since that's something that I remember, and since it's a funny story, I've told it a lot, say, to students, because they connect with it. So every time that I tell that story and retell that story and remember it or write about it, how much further away am I getting from the original, at what actually happened? And I love how Kaufman deals with that through the changing dates and through the changing sometimes, because it's really difficult to capture a feeling like that or a philosophical idea like that. And this is just one example of Kaufman doing this, but I don't know of a filmmaker who does this better than Charlie Kaufman.
Yeah.
So, if he wants to make movies about middle-aged white men from now until he dies, that's cool. I'll still watch them. Even if they don't pass the Bechdel or any other tests. I know we have a lot of them, but I just feel like he does something that I haven't seen anybody else do. And that makes me care about him and his films more. Some other themes that we get very early on are names and colors. So we could talk briefly about the names of characters in the film.
You have them written down.
Yeah, well, the names and the colors go together, actually, because his daughter's name is Olive.
Right.
And we see olive and different shades of green and yellow throughout the entire film in a way that it becomes obvious, and if you're looking for it, even jarring at a certain point, because it is everywhere. I mean, we even have reference, which overlaps to another theme, which is bodily functions, but we even have reference to Olive's bowel movements at the start of the film being green and yellow.
Yeah.
And we have the walls, the furniture, everywhere he goes, the couches, the
Actually,
magazine.
that gives it a good thematic question as well, is when she asks if that means it's alive. Because the film is about dying, essentially, but so many things in the film are green. When the movie asked at the beginning, does that mean they're alive?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is green life or death? Because green is life. We see the vivid green of her coat in the most loving scene when she's a little girl and is with him. But green and yellow can also represent pus, decay. Yeah. And so I think he's purposefully choosing these colors and kind of weaving that together, life and death all being part of the same thing.
Well, and then in the visuals of the movie, it is New York City, creating a smaller New York City and a smaller New York City and a smaller New York City. They don't deal with nature in this film very much, even though that's where green would be like most vibrant.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like Central Park is one of his sets, you know.
One of the outside scenes again would be Olive in the brighter green coat.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of other times where really outside are getting life.
When he goes to try to see her in Europe.
That's true.
That's
that
outside,
scene is set
but
outside.
It's a patio of a restaurant. It's
yeah,
concrete.
We're not really getting much nature there either. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's true. We're getting plays that are constructed sets.
Yeah, constructed reality.
But we're not
starting with his directing Death of a Salesman, which that's in the script for Death of a Salesman, is that the set should be partly see-through and overlap.
And olive also means peace, so...
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't also mean peace, but in addition to a color, it means peace. Adele is his wife. That means noble one. And...
I forgot. What does Caden mean? Because we haven't talked about Cotard yet. We'll get to that. Caden meant something good too. I forget.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Or you can look that up. And while you're doing that, I can talk briefly about the Cotard delusion. His last name is Cotard, and the Cotard delusion is a rare disorder in which a person holds a delusional belief that he is dead, does not exist, is putrefying, or has lost his blood or internal organs. And we can talk a little bit about all of the bodily functions and just illnesses that he's dealing with. While Caden Cotard does seem to suffer from what would be typically diagnosed as the Cotard delusion, his condition appears to be a biological manifestation of his life. He's constantly deteriorating while also taking a painstakingly long time to die, which is relatable.
Wait, his play takes 50 years.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even start at the beginning of the film.
And how many of us by 40 feel like that? Like we start to have aches and pains, or we don't recover from exercise fast enough, or maybe we're more physically tired, and then we start to worry, like, what is that mole, or what is that cough that we have, or what is...
and him specifically is... He has all of those problems only when he's in real scenes, not directing.
Yeah.
Like when he goes out to dinner, you get the thing where he has to like make himself salivate in order to eat. We have the different things at the beginning of the movie. But whenever he's directing, he doesn't have anything other than his limp late in the film.
Yeah.
Everything else he's fine when he's directing. He's just getting old.
Yeah.
His name, by the way, means fighter.
Okay. Well,
but it may also be, etymologists think it's a Gaelic form of Adam.
Oh, so first man, that would fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be first man, every man, representing every life, so...
Which then puts his name as basically being, like, first life and death.
Last life, yes. Yeah. Obviously, we have very clear and purposeful choices for names, and everything is carefully chosen from the names and the colors and the bodily functions, which we see... The movie's walking us as the audience through Caden's life, starting with him reasonably healthy and progressively turning to worse states of being. He develops sores on his face, which are more extreme than acne, which he calls psychosis, which is another play on words. Yeah. S-Y-C-O-S-I-S versus psychosis. Is he experiencing psychosis, freaking out about everything, but having a break? Or does he actually have psychosis?
Which he explains the difference to his daughter, who doesn't understand either word.
No, because she's like 3 or 4 or something. Yeah, because Olive asks and Caden explains there's a difference between psychosis and psychosis, though they are indeed homonymous. Homonymous? I can't speak today. Homonym. Yeah, that would be homonymous.
Homophones. Homophonous? I don't normally use that as an adjective. I guess it's a word.
So... Either way, We see his worsening physical conditions as clear symbols are going alongside his deteriorating mental state.
Yeah.
Break from reality throughout the film. We have so many other mentions of bodily functions too. Many references to poop throughout the film. Menstruation.
Yeah.
Other types of blood.
Yeah, his daughter's afraid to have blood.
Yeah. Capillaries, which is also connected to plumbing and toilet. And plumbing and toilets and capillaries, these are the systems essentially that keep us alive. So I like the connection between the capillaries in our own body with the plumbing system that are keeping all the artificially constructed sets and buildings alive.
Yep.
Yeah, we could talk a little bit about Hoffman's directing Death of a Salesman. Kaufman.
Oh, Hoffman, the actor.
You say either, I say either. You say neither, and I say neither. Either, either, and either, neither. Let's call the whole thing off.
Now, before we get to Death of a Salesman, can you tell the listeners where they can hear more from you?
So you can hear my show Life as a Playlist, which is essentially me telling autobiographical and social political stories too, but who knows how many songs I'm going to want to do. I might do an episode that completely shatters my own conceit soon, but you can also follow Life as a Playlist on all major social media accounts.
Cut. Thank you for listening. This has been Cock and Bull Minute, a Tristram Shandy story. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CockBullMinute. Find more content at LemmingDrops.com.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me you built a time machine?
Out of a Mandalorian. Why would you create such an abomination? This is the weapon of the coward.
It's a past stuff that dreams are made of.
Cut. That's a wrap.
It's over, Johnny. It's over!
Nothing is over! Nothing!
You still here?
You just don't turn it off!
It's over. Go home. Go.